Hi, this is Sugar Cyanide and you're watching House of Cyanide. I decided to make a video on different divination methods, tarot cards, rune stones, and pendulums. One of the first things I want to say is I want to dispel the myth that you cannot buy your own tarot cards. You can buy your own tarot cards. That is a myth. Again, that is a myth. I do have a deck that has been given to me. I do have a deck that has been found, if you will. But the deck that I use most often, I bought myself. In fact, I actually recommend buying your own deck. I recommend going to a metaphysical store that has tester decks, and taking those tester decks and doing a quick 3-card reading, like what all I do with all my video tarots, and doing a reading with the decks and getting the deck that speaks most clearly to you, and the one that you're most drawn to. I do recommend doing the one that speaks most clearly to you over the one that you're most drawn to, because sometimes you're drawn to a deck and you just love the energy and the power of the deck, but it speaks gibberish to you. It happens. Sometimes you'll get a deck, it'll work really, really well, and then it's time for that deck to move on to somebody else. In my opinion, decks have personalities, like people. Specifically my decks, and the more that you use the deck, the more that you learn the personality. So I wanted to give you a brief overview of my different divination devices that I currently own. This was built up over a long period of time. I did not go out and buy these right away. So if you're interested in learning in tarot, you don't need this many decks. Again, they've came to me over time. And again, do not, I repeat, do not steal tarot decks. Please do not do that. It's an urban legend, it's a myth, and you're not going to get very clear readings off of a stolen deck. So please do not steal a deck. Okay, now that I've preached to you, I will, oh, apparently Rocky has something he wants to say. Rocky?
I'm waving the parenting finger at you. I know where you all live. Don't be stealing no tarot decks. Just don't do it.
Okay. So, now back to interesting things. I wanted to show you my different tarot decks. So, my very, very first deck that I got is the Tarot of the Cat People. So this is what the cover looks like. You guys have seen me use this on YouTube. So this is the Tarot of the Cat People. There's actually a book written about this deck. And the book that's written about this deck is actually a fictional book called it's called Mark of the Cat, Year of the Rat. This is a fictional book, but it really, really helped me learn how to read this deck, because the fictional book took the different cultural groups that the swords and the wands and the pentacles and all that, it helped me just understand this deck a lot better. So it's a very beautifully drawn, autistic deck. If you work with Bast, which I do, there's the Hermit from the previous reading. You know, a lot of people who work with Bast really like this deck. I know lots and lots of people in St. Louis, where I live, that have this deck, and they also work with Bast. So it's actually a really popular deck. So this was the very, very first deck I got, and I've had this deck for 10 years. The only reason why the box is still together the way that it is because it's covered in packaging tape. So I taped it up, basically. The second deck that I ever received, I actually bought this for somebody else, and they left it, and I'm no longer friends with this person. So, and they took my other deck, so I kept it. So I bought this for them, they took something of mine, and so I just kept it. So this is the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. I really like this deck. Again, it's very blunt. And this is the deck that I did the previous reading with also earlier tonight. It's very, very, very blunt, and it's kind of a difficult deck to work with. In actuality, you have to buy a separate book, the Book of Thoth. So a lot of the tarot decks come with an explanation book. If you get a Thoth deck, in order to really use the deck, you're going to need this book, or at least read it and studied this book. So, and it's quite thick, as you can see. So it's a big book. So I only break out that deck when I'm having difficulties and need a stronger reading or a more clear, decisive reading. Then the last two decks have come to me of their own. I did not buy them. This one is the Gothic Tarot. Here's the box, the Gothic Tarot. This was given to me by my good friend Misty as a Yule present. Thank you, Misty. I love you. She's awesome. And I really like this deck. It's really cool. It's very gothy. I mean, Gothic Tarot, obviously, you know. So this is the Ten of Cups. With a gentleman on his grave and kind of a vampire woman over him. So it's very dark and gothy, and I love it. I love doing Halloween readings or Samhain readings with this deck. So I haven't gotten to, I don't use it a whole lot because I really just always go to my Cat People deck, but this deck is really fun for entertainment readings and things of that nature. So thank you. It was a wonderful gift. I love it. This deck, I think this is a Rider-Waite deck. This is more of a traditional tarot deck. And I've only done maybe 4 or 5 readings with this deck. I'm not a big fan of the traditional tarot decks. So I think this is, like I said, I think this is the Rider-Waite or one of those original like 4 or 5 style decks with the European, medieval European artwork, you know, with the devil. Like, see, this is the devil with the European artwork on it. So I've only, like I said, I've only done 4 or 5 readings with this deck. I'm not a big fan of it, but this was a deck that got left. So I've kept it, and eventually maybe I'll find it a new home. So that is Monster, cat number 3. Alright, so those are the tarot cards that I have, but tarot cards are not the only forms of divination. You can use pendulums. This is my pendulum. There you go, if you can see it. This is good I like to use this for yes or no questions. So it's really good for yes or no. This particular one is Tiger's Eye. I'm a big fan of Tiger's Eye. So this is really good for quick readings and things of that nature. So so that's my pendulum. And then I also have runes. So these are my runes here. And it's kind of hard to see. They don't really show up. The inscriptions don't really show up that well on them. There you go. There's the inscriptions. So these are actually pink moonstone. So I actually just figured out what stone these are made of tonight, and that's awful because I have a lot of stones and I love stones. And I work at a stone and witchy shop. So I look at stones all day long and tell people what they are. But for the longest time I couldn't figure out what these were. And they are pink moonstones. So moonstone is not always kind of the sheer yellow tint. You know, this is kind of the pink version of it. So you can't, the camera's not really picking up the color, but it's very kind of shiny and luminescent, even though it's pink. So so these are my divination tools, and I hope you enjoyed learning about them. And I think I am about out of time, so talk to you guys later.